worshipped her on the TV forever. Our friend Zerlina Maxwell is here, author of the new book, The End of White Politics, How to Heal Our Liberal Divide. And nobody better to do it than you, ma'am.
That's right.
Thank you.
I was just saying,
I hope I can try to help.
You didn't even need to say a word on MSNBC. Just your face listening to Hugh Hewitt was what got me through this weekend. It was everything.
Well, I try not to make faces on TV. It's actually like an intentional thing. I try really hard not to like roll my eyes. Or
no, you didn't. That's why it was
faces.
That's why it was fantastic.
But when somebody says stuff that's like crazy, right. You just sort of have to be like, sir, are you sure that's what you mean?
I feel like it was resting what the face. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was, I think so.
Yeah, there was no movement. There was no scorn. There was just because he said, first of all, Zerlina, I can't. Okay, I don't even know where to start. So we had to sue to get the data that coronavirus is killing Black and brown people at twice the rate, 3 times the rate, depending. So just people throwing out these statistics as if they know makes you as crazy as it makes me, as I can tell. So he said, "Oh, it's been proven it was the protests that caused."
Right.
So the fact that they're trying to politicize it. And anyway, say what you said.
Well, it's just not true. I mean, they've done the research.
Right.
If the protests were causing these spikes, they wouldn't be happening in Arizona because there were protests in Arizona, but not necessarily in Scottsdale, where the hospital is at like 90% capacity. So what the scientists have said, doing the research, is that the spikes that we're seeing are the result of people re-entering, the reopening, quote unquote, and people going to parties and bars and restaurants and gyms, right? Those are the causes of the current spikes. It's not the protests. The people at the protests were socially distancing when it was possible, and they were mostly wearing masks. And so I think, the idea that the protests caused these spikes, and we can put it all on the people who were, remind you, protesting because the police had killed a Black person and no one got in trouble. That was the reason why they were risking their lives. Yeah. I mean, just to put in apply more blame to them while Donald Trump is the most incompetent president, it's beyond the pale. I felt like it was beyond the pale. That's why I made a face.
Yeah, no, it was not a face, which is why it was more powerful. It's just facts. You were like, you said, I think you said I'm quarantined with a biologist. Like
I am literally quarantined with a biologist. I was like, do you want me to bring him on TV? He's not dressed for the segment, but I can have him explain it to you, sir. He's like, I read it in the New York Times. I'm like, literally, I read the same article and it didn't say that. So you can't just cite it and pretend like it said a thing. It did not say.
Yeah. It's you said he's currently a pantless biologist, but nonetheless, he is a biologist.
No, he's always in pants.
Zerlina, it really is. Like I was saying, I don't feel like people on our side are going, aha, Herman Cain got it. Aha, Kimberly Guilfoyle got it. I mean, I have a mom that's 97 that just got out of the hospital. I can't go see her in Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't understand the masks, all of it, Zerlina. When did it get political? I mean, when did it get partisan? It's so ridiculous. Well,
I mean, the entire Trump era, it's felt like, his supporters are in a cult. It feels like that. I mean, the closer and closer and closer we get to literally drinking the Kool-Aid. I mean, I think this is the closest we can get to that, where they're going to a rally without masks in a hotspot for COVID, knowing that there's a virus that's killing people all around them. And so I just think that, the politicization of everything has led us to this moment, right? We can't just, when they denied climate science, that was probably a precursor to what we're seeing now, because literally all you have to do is wear a mask to help everyone stay safe and healthy. And you're not willing to do that because you believe Donald Trump, who told you to inject disinfectant.
Yeah. I'm not sure there are any other kind of thoughts than dark these days. So I will admit to, when I saw this, that the data came out that New York Times had to sue to get, the hugely higher incidence of Black and brown people getting coronavirus. I mean, he is such a virulent racist, this man, that I feel like, is there part of that? That's why he doesn't care, because he has those statistics and goes, oh, it's mostly Black and brown people, which Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, that's exactly right. I mean, I think there is some sort of calculation, whether it be, conscious or subconsciously, that those are not his supporters, that his people are not the ones catching and dying from COVID-19. That's wrong, but that's sort of the way that he sees the world. But I also think he's just so narcissistic that he doesn't care even about his own supporters. So he definitely doesn't care about Black and brown people. But I don't think he cares about anybody but himself.
Yeah.
Because if he did, he wouldn't have told people to inject disinfectant. Back to my previous point. I mean, that is the thing that happened. As soon as that happened, everybody should have called for the president to resign. That should have been a moment where, okay,
he's dangerous.
With the looking glass, he's dangerous. He's a national security threat walking around with the launch codes, and we need to do something about it. And for some reason, we just woke up the next day and talked about something he tweeted and moved on. But I think, for me, that moment was, okay, this is not somebody who should have the nuclear launch codes. I've always felt that way, but this moment was very clarifying.
Well, we take any day, but let's take yesterday.
Any day.
Let's take yesterday, going to the point of your book, The End of White Politics. We're in the middle. I don't even know what to say about where we are at with coronavirus. First of all, speaking of his lies, that this is 99%, what did he say, harmless?
Harmless, yeah.
When we are in, clearly, we are 4% of the world's population, 25% of the cases. We are, by any means, we're banned from Europe. We're by any...
We're banned.
Right.
We are banned.
Right. Aaron Rupert pointed out, he said yesterday we have the lowest death rate. He said the U.S.'s case fatality rate is in the middle of the pack, not even close to the lowest in the world. It more than doubles, in fact, the second hardest hit country, which is Brazil. There he is. We have really reached this alternate reality. And he takes yesterday to tweet at the only Black guy in NASCAR. And he's running for, I don't know what, for president of the Confederacy. He says that Bubba needs to apologize, who didn't find the noose, didn't report the noose, right? And then I don't, what else, whatever racist tweet, the Redskins, something. This is what he's tweeting about yesterday.
Black people always have to apologize to Donald Trump, if you notice. I mean, usually it's Black people that are not sufficiently grateful, in his view, that either need to do the apologizing or explaining, or they need to go away or be, he always has something to say about us. And so I just think that, it's so clear to me that he's racist, and that he thinks he's better than Black people. He treats us that way. He treats brown people that way. He operates that way. His policies support that worldview. And so I don't know if he's running for the capital of the Confederacy, but he's not running for the president of an America that includes my full humanity. And I have a problem with that.
Yeah. I just, it struck me when we were talking about the statistics for coronavirus and whether it partially he doesn't care because it's Black and brown people. I mean, I'm a gay woman, and I remember back in the AIDS era that there were people openly saying, oh, it's killing the right people. I mean, that, they didn't do anything about AIDS because they're like, remember what was the documentary that, Reagan administration officials said, well, normal people don't get it, do they? Meaning a guy can't get it from anyway, it is such a level of awfulness. Let's get into the book, because you've worked on Barack Obama's campaign, of course, Hillary Clinton's campaign. So I love the description. You've gained firsthand knowledge that everything liberals have been doing right over the last few elections and everything they're still doing wrong. Let's talk about that. So the end of white politics dismantles the past and presents problems of the left, because you gotta start everywhere. So talk to us about the genesis of the book.
So it all started at Politicon.
When I accosted you, when the aforementioned I accosted you.
So I was on a panel at Politicon in 2018. I was actually on the same panel in 2019, and the same thing happened. But the anecdote in the book still stands, because I got booed 2 years in a row, is what I'm saying. So in 2018, I was on a panel titled "What Now, Liberals," where they were going to, wax poetic. We were going to talk about, do an autopsy of the 2016 election, where we went wrong. What do we do now that Donald Trump's the president? We're in the middle of the Mueller investigation at that point. And so where do we go from here? Is Trump going to be held accountable? How are the midterms going to turn out? And so, I'm sitting there as somebody who worked for Hillary Clinton. So in that room, it's a bipartisan room, but it was heavily Bernie Sanders supporters, mostly white, mostly male. Not all, mostly.
Right.
And so when I made the point, sort of to one of the other panelists who was a staunch Bernie Sanders supporter, that, you know, slogans like free college, you need more than that when you're speaking to certain communities, particularly Black women. Like, what do you mean by free college? How does that help me if I'm 38? And also, you know, like, what are you going to do about college debt after the fact? I mean, like, there's a multitude of different ways you can look at it. And you really need people in the party and in positions of power that you're listening to who look like the electorate that you're trying to court to vote for you, right?
Yeah.
And so Black women are the base of the Democratic Party. And so, you know, as I'm sort of trying to push back against the idea that, you know, we really need to do a better job speaking to Black women voters, I was booed and like hissed because I work for Hillary. So, you know, I'm getting called shill and all these kinds of names. And so I literally was like,
corporate establishment. I work in my basement.
Right,
yeah.
Like, I was just like, I don't know what kind of corporate establishment you think is going on here, but like, I'm a Black woman. And so I don't think booing me is a good political strategy. Let's just say, you know, like when I'm trying to say Black women are demanding to be heard and our issues validated, and we want to be taken seriously, and we want to be put into positions of power, and you're going to boo me, I don't think you're going to do well and have a great future in the progressive movement, because you don't understand who the base of our party is. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to write the book, because I think that, you know, not just on the left, but overall, we've always been focusing on white as an identity. And identity-based politics is the way we should do politics. I mean, it just, frankly, I think, you know, even if you are white, you can have some other part of your identity that then makes a policy outcome for you a little bit different. I mean, whether or not you have a differing ability or you live in a rural area. So I think that what I'm trying to say in the book is that we've always been doing white male-focused politics, white identity politics, but we just left off the words white and identity. We called it politics. And then everything else was identity politics. I mean, Black feminists coined that term in 1977 to basically address and try to center the concerns of Black women and other types of people that are not white men. And why would we not want to do that now when Pew predicts America will be minority white by 2045?
Yeah. What do I always say, Chris? What's America's early warning system?
Black ladies.
Just listen to the Black ladies. Just do what they say.
That's right.
It's not hard. It's not hard. They're always right.
Yep.
Okay. Well, you know, so you're the perfect person to ask this question, because remember the Kentucky primary? I was like,
yes.
Here's the, you know, woman that I think seems very qualified, and then the Bernie candidate came in who was an African American guy who also seems great. I mean, Zerlina, I'm so blue no matter who. Every Kentucky's different than, you know, AOC's different district, wherever. Right. But I think I started asking the question, like, I don't know if America's more sexist or racist. Based on, you know, the last couple of elections, I guess more sexist. No. Right? We've had a Black man. Well, we haven't had a woman yet. What do you think?
No. I mean, so one of the things Shirley Chisholm always said is that she faced more discrimination because of her gender than her race. And I think that one of the things that Black feminists have been saying all the time is that, you know, yes, we are in this moment, this is the perfect moment to talk about this, because in this moment, people are in the streets. They've been in the streets protesting because the police have killed yet another series of unarmed Black men. But they've also been killing Black women this whole time. We live in the same households, in the same communities. We're dealing with the same issues that Black men. But there wasn't on My Sister's Keeper. There's just fundamentally isn't, that infrastructure and that push to help Black women who are facing all of the same issues.
I just said yesterday that you're 10 years in jail for someone that throws paint on a statue, according to our president, quote unquote, and Breonna Taylor's killers are still out there. I mean,
at home, they're chilling, watching Netflix, watching Hamilton, singing along. And I mean, it's grotesque to me.
Yeah, we got Birdwatcher lady, thank God. Whatever, the Central Park Karen. Just stop calling the police on Black people for no reason. Is it that hard? Okay.
No, it's not hard. Very easy.
I know. I wish we had longer with you. We got this. I mean, this book just seems amazing. But you know, you talk
about. I have
to
come back more often because you know we're the show right before you.
Exactly.
Signal boost.
I'm so used to every day saying Stephanie Miller's coming up next.
Oh, Love your show. Love you. Love Jess. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Signal Boost with Zerlina and Jess is fantastic right here.
You couldn't have a better lead in.
Yeah. But I worship her on TV, and she knows, and in person it's just weird. But you mentioned a lot of stuff in here, like Pete Buttigieg's run, and I think we have a lot of amazing, diverse, wonderful candidates, but it is interesting that I think you sort of go to that, but I got Amy Klobuchar's point a little bit. I was like, a woman mayor of a town with 6 people would never have gotten that far. I mean, as a gay person, I'm happy that he did as well as he did, but you're right, there are a lot of things we need to address in terms of sexism. Are you a little nervous? Like, you're excited about the VP pick, but you're like, oh boy, then we're going to get, depending on, we're going to get sexism, racism again, right?
Well, look, I mean, I'm not afraid of the sexism or racism. I think a lot of people are like, well, if you pick a black woman, then people will, somehow their bias will, come through, and their lack of support for that particular black woman. But I think that by picking a black woman, you're exciting other black women and people who think black women are pretty dope.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, Beyonce can't be the most important and successful performer at this moment if people didn't think black women were awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that, we transform cultures, and I think that we're ready to transform our politics.
Except for that Republican guy that said Beyonce's not white, but that's another whole subject. We'll have you back for an hour. He said she's Italian and she's faking being black.
I saw that.
She's not Italian. Okay, certainly not.
She might be. Everybody has different ancestry and lineage because of American history.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, don't mess with the Bayhive. But but here's the thing. I just got to ask you about VP, because I was a Kamala Liz girl in the primary, and then I've cheated with Val Demings. I'll admit it. She's fantastic. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, oh, it's gonna be Duckworth. Oh, Susan Rice. Like I can't even tell who I'm cheating on with anybody anymore. But who? I feel like it has to be a black lady. But who do you? I mean, it is an amazing field of women, isn't it?
I'm so excited about the fact that we have an embarrassment of riches. I mean, can you imagine having like a long list of qualified and experienced black women to choose from in a moment where black women were like a minority of the U.S. population, but we turn out 60% every election? I mean, if you pick a black woman, imagine the enthusiasm potentially in the very core of the base that you need. And so I think he needs to pick a black woman. I don't care which one. I honestly don't. They all have different qualifications. Susan Rice can bring some of the national security experience. Val Demings, law enforcement. Maybe she can be, spearhead the police reform movement in the Biden administration. I mean, there's so many different layers of their qualifications too. And I think, he's a lucky guy. He's got a lot of black women to choose from.
It's true. It's super racist of you not to care which one, that they're all the same. But the end of what
they're not all the same, but they all are excellent.
Yes.
Right. I mean, I think it's not. It matters, in terms of picking a black woman. But all of them are excellent.
Absolutely. The end of white politics, how to heal our liberal divide, and not in a gay way, but you're also super beautiful on top of being super smart.
Thank you so much.
Got to get the book. The Essential is Zerlina Maxwell.
It's out today.
Yeah.
Yes.
The end of white politics. Thanks, Zerlina.
Thank you, Zerlina.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye. Guys.